About to go racing then for 100 minutes. Looks like the clock didn't start, so the 100 minutes will get underway when they cross the line this time. It was 2 green flag laps, and the full 100 minutes is about to get underway with mandatory stops. If the cars need to refuel, they will do that amongst the race. There's no pit window, so they can stop whenever they want. There's the free classes, which we will keep an eye on. So the race about to get underway then. Over 40 production sports and saloon cars here at Silverstone. See the lights go out and away they go. And who's made the best start? Well, the Seat from row 2 looks pretty good. Rob Taylor. And it's 4 abreast as Owen Fitzgerald comes through the middle to grab the lead in the E36. A fabulous start there then from Owen Fitzgerald to grab the lead through Abbey. He passed all those factory built cars that started in front of him. Rob Taylor now and Cole Swift behind. The Porsche's lost a few places. The BMW of Andy Schultz has made a decent start. You see the little G20 in there, that's Neil Primrose, and we're in the rest of the field. Here comes Swift, then round the outside of the fellow Seat driver, Rob Taylor. One's off the road, that's the Leonard Porsche. It had a big puncher yesterday that had an accident, and now Leo has smacked the front end of it. The GT4 built Porsche may well be out the race. So that's Leo Lucas. It had a big puncher yesterday that put it out of road sports. Had an explosion down the Hanger Straight. Didn't hit anything. They fixed the car, and now it's gone again, Marcus.
Yeah, it's done some damage to the front, and you can see something from the inner wheel arch hanging out of it, and quite see what it was in a quick flick to it, but he had a huge moment off the circuit. But look at this Fitzgerald BMW E36 go. He's got the 2 whacking great Seats with their very extravagant body kits and wings and things.
Group 5
chasing,
style.
Yeah, just superb.
So Fitzgerald then leads Cole Swift. Swift quick through Abbey though. Lots of aero on those Seats. So let's see down into the hairpin. Perhaps Cole Swift might have a go to get past. I see James Cal already taking his penalties. He's gone into the pit lane. He's got this 30-second penalty for being a pro driver. There's a car in the pit wall as well. So there's been an accident there as Cole Swift is going for the lead. He's going to grab the lead into the link. So the Area Motorsport Seat goes through.
That's a Porsche again, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a Porsche, dark-coloured Porsche.
It's not the same one. It is the same one.
Oh.
What a first lap there for Leo Lucas. That's an expensive piece of kit too, isn't it, Marcus?
Well, it was.
Yeah, so yeah, punchy yesterday.
And there's bits of debris on the track up top.
Oh,
and
fire for Darren Bull's M3. He had problems with his Porsche yesterday, and now a big fire on the BMW M3, the E92. Darren Bull trying to find a marshal's post to get to. Well, that was a dramatic start. Endurance racing can be dramatic. We weren't expecting it to happen quite so soon. Fitzgerald's lost second, by the way, because the other Seat, Rob Taylor's come through. The safety car obviously being called for with a big damage to the front left corner, isn't there?
It's bent all the suspension, etc. So it's that'll take some moving, won't it?
So we won't get to see Bradley Ellis out in this race, I'm afraid. Now, who's got a big fuel tank and can stop in this early safety car period? There's one car in. Darren Bull can't find a marshal's post to get to, it would seem, but he's okay. He's getting out the car, which is good to see. Real calm there. There's the GT4 Club Sport. He's parked right by the gate, so he can get out the car handily. Good to see he's okay, because getting the pit wall isn't an ideal situation.
I mean, that left-hand front wheel's towing in at about sort of 40 degrees or something like that.
It looks like the onboard
This
fire
is-
extinguisher.
Well,
might
it's
have
still
put-
smouldering in the exhaust, isn't it?
Strange what happened there, but as I say, you can make your pit stop at any time. So if you've got a big fuel tank that'll do the distance, make your pit stop now and you can get it out of the way. And I think there is a car in the pits. There's a couple in the pits. So whether we can get our pit lane camera onto those cars, I might be able to figure it out on the time in my time. So the 1:30 Civic hasn't done a lap. That's Luca Diella who started and Josh Leake second during that car. We saw James Kell come in.
Is it 15? That's 15
yes.
sitting there.
That's the Gillespie, Colin Gillespie BMW.
Gillespie, yeah.
And it's Ivor Mares in the MX-5. There is fuel going into that. But I can't imagine you had much fuel to go in after 2 laps. But a good strategy call, I suspect, there, Marcus.
Could be. Time will tell.
And Colin Gillespie, solo driver. So the problem here is, if you are a 2-driver team, therefore 2 drivers putting the money forwards, do you really want to do 2 laps? I suspect not. And
how long can an individual driver?
Can do whatever you want.
Okay.
So there's no pit window, except for if you're a pro driver, then
Yes.
you can only do 50%. But the only one. But there's Byford. How far did Byford get up in the car that did do the quickest time in qualifying, but was excluded? 21st. So he overtook half the cars, and now he's behind his teammate in the EDF Motorsport, both running the Invitational class. The Sayat for Byford, and then the Smart 4-4 for Jonathan Packer and Rob Baker.
Byford was a champion of Snett and Formula Ford, wasn't he?
I've got this note.
Probably in the previous century.
92, he was champion of
There you go.
Snetterton. Then in 93, he was the Winter Formula Ford champion. In 95, he won the Class B of British Formula 3. And then 2007, he was the Clio Cup champion.
So he's got some pedigree in there.
He did do half a season in Sean Hollenby's Volkswagen Golf in the British Touring Car Championship too.
130 coming in by the looks of things.
That's the Luca Diella car that is in. So some people are making this early stop, not too many of them at the moment.
Has this race been longer than 100 minutes in previous years, Josh?
Usually club enduro races are 2 hours.
Yeah.
A little bit of a change for this race. Just have a look what the season. It's a bit of a mixed bag of lengths this year.
As Marshall's laying dust on a slug trail out on the circuit.
Yes, it's a real mixed bag of lengths this year. So we've got 100 minutes for Silverstone today, 120 minutes for Alton Park, same for Snetterton. Spa is down for a 3-hour race, and then Donington Park to end the season is back to 100 minutes. So 5-round championship. I quite like the idea of having different lengths, because that's what endurance racing should be. It should be different challenges for different races.
Right, and different tactic sets. For those sort of lengths.
Marshall's having to clear up the oil, drop from Darren Ball. Leo Lucas is getting used to know the recovery team, isn't he? He recovered yesterday too. Lots of comments coming in from those watching on the live stream. Hello, welcome. Do share the stream on your social media. Get more people involved in the Club Enduro Championship. Very much an affordable way to go endurance racing with a good car. Ivor Mares out the pit lane, so he's done his stop. The first of them to do so, I think. Martin James watching. He's had to miss this round with the Area Motorsport Civic with head gasket problems. But hopefully we'll see Martin out later on this year. The race being led by Cole Swift in the Sayat. He shares with Rob Baker. Second is Rob Taylor. This is a huge improvement for Rob Taylor and Mark Jones. They never featured towards the front in club enduro races before, so this is really good stuff from them.
We can see a recovery truck down on the inside of Stowe, and I'm wondering whether that's waiting to go across at some point to pick up Darren Ball's car, or whether it's another car that's out of the out of the running there.
There's Julian Mcbride, who's come into the pits. He runs with Jeff Steele Racing, and very much a team associated with BMWs.
Had some tyre scuffs down the side of it, hasn't it, McBride's car?
I'm not sure who Lucas hit on that first lap when he had his big moment, because
No.
he clattered into the side of another car, didn't he? There's that recovery down at Stowe you mentioned, Marcus. That is Darren Ball's car that he's being dealt with. This race at Silverstone has been running since 2016 with Club Enduro. The first race was 90 minutes. That was won by Phil Keane with Jamie Packham in an M3. In 2017, it became a 2-hour race. That was Rob Baker and Cole Swift that won, that time in a Civic. In 2018, it was a 2-hour race. That was Luke Sejikowski in an M3. And then last year, it was a 2-hour race again where Joe Taylor won in the Lotus Elise. He went on to win the Class A Championship last season. Class B champion Steve Cheatham, he's here, he's upgraded. Class C champions last year, Andrew Lights and Nimran Khan, not here. So only one of the class champions have returned. So there they are behind the safety car. Cole Swift, the leader. Some cars jump into the top of the chart, you'll see there the cars are pitted. So it's Kevin Dengate that has come in too now. There's Cole Swift that leads it. Second is Taylor, third Fitzgerald. Andy Schultz in fourth. Very much better in the M3 than perhaps some of the times he has in his Ferrari. Then the 2 Series BMW, that's Charlie Dark. Is it car 2, 3, 5? Yeah, Charlie Dark goes first there. Then Steve Cheatham in the Boxster. Daniel Jude lost some places in the Lotus Elise. Then the Ginetta of David Trigg. Jamie Ingram's BMW, and Andy Bailey. Now, is he a car? I think he was a car for the pit, so that's not right. It'll be Russell Clark in 10th, I reckon. So the recovery ongoing, both at Stowe and at Club. So this safety car period will be a bit longer yet. The safety car leading them round. Safety car being driven this weekend by Jonathan Baines, sometime HSCC driver. He's been a part of the safety car team here with the 750 Motor Club for a little while now. So in the classes, Class B is being led by the Chris Freeman and Johnny Monday Civic. In second, William Beach in a Volkswagen Golf. And third, Ben Salmon and Nick Starkey's M3. In Class C, now a lot of these cars have pitted, but the head of them is Paul Sheard and Chrissy Palmer. That's a strong lineup in Class C, isn't it? Paul Sheard, multiple MX5 champion. Chrissy Palmer, Formula Ford Festival winner back in 2009.
Yeah, Palmer was a very quick single-seater driver at one point, so good to see he's still racing.
He did it the last few seasons. He's been doing rallycross. But I think he's teamed up with Paul Sheard in this new Mark IV Mazda, which is a very recent car. And very good lineup there together. Just looking at who Chrissy Palmer beat that year. James Cole, who did some Formula 2 racing. Ben Barker, who's a Porsche driver now. Josh Hill, son of Damon. Dennis Lind, who's now a Lamborghini factory driver. And in there too was Joseph Newgarden, IndyCar champion. So, although he was in retirement that season. Perhaps maybe not quite as strong as some festival years, but whenever you're winning the Formula Ford Festival, Marcus, you've done a good job.
They all count, don't they?
That was back in the Duratec era. So the Porsche's been removed here from Abbey. You can see on your screen. So we might get a better view of how much more damage that car has got. It hit the rear left corner too. Yes, it's broken. Both the left-hand corners are broken, aren't they, on the Beluga Porsche?
Beluga.
Good to see that team with us. The first time they've been out in Club Enduro.
Are they caviar importers? Beluga caviar.
They're usually running brick car, Cup cars and GT4 cars. So good to see them out with us. But it's not been a great debut, it is fair to say. Not sure how much driving Bradley Ellis has got to do this weekend. I suspect not much.
Bit of quali.
So the safety car might well be in this time, because I think both incidents are now cleared. And you would have to think those that have pitted are going to have an advantage. Assuming we don't have another one, of course. So I reckon Kevin Dengate's pitted, 78. 95, Andy Bailey. 15, Colin Gillespie. 316, Ivan Mares. 50, Julian Mcbride. And 51, Luke Handley. That is my assumption from the timing screens. You can follow.
From their point of view, the longer the safety car goes on, the better they'll feel about it, won't they? Because the fewer minutes there will be as the race goes on.
Yes, they don't run out of fuel towards the end, indeed.
Quite.
If you want to follow live timing, head to the 750 Motor Club website, 750mc.co.uk, and all the live timing is there. So if you want to follow anybody in particular, you can do so. Steve Cheaton's son, Joseph, watching. Hello, Joe. Your dad is there in P6. Marshall's not quite back on their post yet, so we're going to have another lap of safety car. So let's see what Steve can do this season, moving up to Class A, but more competition perhaps for his car. Asking when Spa is. That will be the end of October for the 3-hour race, the week after the 24 hours. A mid 24-hour date at Spa. That sounds mid-October date for the Spa 24 hours this year. That sounds fun, doesn't it, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. Greatest track in the world.
But yes, we're the week after the 24 hours, at the end of October. Fingers crossed, all the restrictions have been lifted by then.
This is intriguing. We've seen a weather symbol come up on the screen saying that the forecast is less than 10% chance of rain, but elsewhere we're getting messages in that there are now large spots of rain appearing, just to throw an extra little frisson of excitement into this TEGIWA Club Enduro.
Got Jasmine following, she's following Charlie. Is that Charlie Dark? He's the highest placed Charlie, so let's go with that. Steve Lund saying he's enjoying watching racing, not being on the inside. Martin James saying he'll be back for Alton Park, which will be in a couple of weeks' time. Mark Chappelle is following Manoj Patel, who's making his debut. He's in a Civic, he's currently 15th. A few of the spots of rain on our window now, but nothing again too drastic. But when that rain did come in the MR2s, it was pretty slippery for that lap or two. So you don't want to get caught out there. In a long race like this, Mark, it's perhaps best just to back off if you do see a bit of rain on your window.
Well, there's still a long way to go, isn't there? Still 84 minutes to go of the original 100. And while it's disappointing for those who are trundling around behind a safety car, particularly if they're only driving half the race, it's obviously vitally important to get the circuit clear and for the safety of the marshals who are in the process of doing that. I sense the pace is picking up though, so I reckon with a fair wind they'll be back into racing next time round.
Absolutely, and hopefully that'll be our only safety car period. But with so many cars out there on a couple of mile lap, it will get very busy very quickly, which adds in quite another element. And of course that traffic management is the key to success, being good at working your way through. And of course if you're in a lower class car, is actually at letting cars by in sensible places, not trying to race them through the corners, just letting them go down the straight.
Letting cars by, although it's their responsibility to get past you, but without absolutely sapping your momentum 2 or 3 times a lap once it gets into relentless traffic.
So the safety car, here it is, the 750 Motor Club safety car, the Renault, will head, it won't head for the pit lane, so why is that, I wonder. Now at Brands Hatch last week, when we lost both recovery trucks to the pit lane, we had to pause before the next race. Whether that may be an issue here, not sure. The safety car, as far as we could see, Marcus, should have been coming in, but it hasn't.
Well, it's all in radio control, or radio contact with race control, and they'll get the go-ahead just as soon as it's considered safe to continue, but we're now down to 82 minutes.
So I suspect we're getting closer and closer to a time where a car could go to the end on its fuel tank.
Yeah.
Again though, if you're a 2-driver team, that's when it gets a bit more awkward. Could you're both footing up the bill. And you don't want to do your stint under the safety car and not much else really, particularly at the first round of the season. And more people getting in touch. Holly Baker, I presume a relation of some sort to Rob. Good luck to Area Motorsport, she says. And it is Rob Baker's car that Cole Swift Company driving that is leading. Charlie is supporting TWP Racing, Together We Progress. That's the John Munro car, the Matron X5 that he shares with Nick Dougal. Christina saying good job by the marshals, clearing the track, dealing with the oil that went down. It is pouring down with rain, isn't it? I think. Looking at the.
Well, you can see it getting very shiny on the straight, can't you? Yeah. So the hangar straight is pretty wet. Although having said that, there's not a car in that little group apart from the pace car, which has automatic damp sensors on the windscreen wipers. Well, there wasn't a car with the wipers going, but one or two.
It looks like we are good to go at the end of this lap though, which is good. So we just had that one further lap of safety car. So 80 minutes, so we've lost 20 or so, and now we're not really sure what the track conditions are like. That's going to add another element. Front wheel drive car, that's not a bad thing to be in, is it? I shouldn't think indeed. We're on treaded tyres here, list 1 tyres, which so that means no slicks, which helps in this. But of course, if you start getting standing water or on the road, it may well be a change of tyres in the pit stops. So Cole Swift then bolts. He's drove this car in TCR UK races and won in it, and look at the confidence he has. He's absolutely gone. Rob Taylor, who we haven't seen run at the front in these races before, has fallen behind, and Owen Fitzgerald and Andy Schultz are there to pounce. Schultz, who Ferrari racer out in this BMW this weekend, but Taylor in the stays there in the BMW. Here comes Cheatham in the Porsche up the inside of the 2 Series. Can't make it though. Couldn't get past Charlie Dark. Here comes Fitzgerald round the outside of the Seat. How much grip is there? Andy Schultz comes to the outside in the newer M3, the E46. He's got the Seat. Both of the M3s have got the Seat. The 2 different generation of car. And now Schultz up the inside through the kink. He's now side by side with Fitzgerald, who's on that inside line with the Dextra number, going back to the DTM years. Of kind of livery on that car, but Cole Swift is gone. He's got a huge lead from these racing BMWs behind. Fitzgerald and Schultz over the cement dust there. Here comes Dark in the 2 Series. He goes past Rob Taylor as well then. So Taylor, who was second, not enjoying these conditions, perhaps not quite as confident in the first lap in these conditions, has dropped down to 5th. Into the chicane they come now at Vale. Cheatham there in P6 is pretty much with them, but an awesome first restart lap there from Cole Swift, Mark.
And a lot of the rain apparently up at Village Corner, which is why it's making it difficult on certain parts of the track at the moment. But as you say, Cole Swift just leapt into a huge lead there.
Martin Byford, you'd expect him to be good in these conditions. He's gone from 17th to 12th on that lap, so he gained 5. So look out for the Seat coming a bit further back in the pack, coming down to the hairpin. There it is, with the lights blaze. Martin Byford, the former Clio Cup champion, who's raced this car a lot in recent years in the Brit Car Endurance Championship. Car number 98, it will be 1-2 watch. At the back of this pack, he's going strong. Meanwhile, Robert Taylor is fighting back now. Now he's got his confidence. He's going after Charlie Dark. He's going up the inside of Dark in this new BMW to him. The Elite Works car stays in front on that outside line as they go through Stone. You can see the rain visibly there, absolutely pouring down. And you can hear it on the effects mics again. What lap times are we doing? 1:15 for Swift, only a couple of seconds off the qualified times on a much heavier fuel tank. So it's not affecting them yet, but the rain does seem to be intensifying somewhat as they come to complete lap number 10 of this race. There's Cheatham in the boxer. Big twitch for him as he goes out over the curb. You can see it visibly now on the tarmac with the tyre marks shown on the road. Wipers ablaze now for everybody. Wipers going for everybody. There's Byford. He's gone on that lap from 12th to 8th, so that's 4 more places. Is he the quickest driver on the track? He is. New fastest lap for Martin Byford, 1:14.3. That's only a second off the qualifying times. So Martin Byford is not being slowed down by these conditions, which is Pretty impressive. There's Cole Swift. He's the leader by 5 seconds over Owen Fitzgerald. Third is Schultz. Fourth is Dark. Fifth is Taylor. Sixth is Cheatham. Seventh is Jude in the Lotus. And there's Martin Byford in the Seat now with his lights ablaze going alongside the Lotus in the background of the shot. At the front of the shot, the BMW under pressure from Robert Taylor's Seat. So the front-wheel drive Seat's going well in these conditions, but Martin Byford, not really a surprise, Marcus, that he's the quickest driver out there.
No, he's vastly experienced and driven all types of cars, from single-seaters through to touring cars, and he's making it look very easy at the moment. Now behind that Elite Works BMW, number 235, which is the Charlie Dark car. Charlie Dark and Joe Delgado, very nicely turned out, that car.
I'm not sure if that's one of the factory cars. There's a load of them in Germany.
Another Seat's making good progress behind there, isn't it?
That's the Byford car. Here it is, 98.
Of the two coming through together, yeah.
Robert Taylor in front, and the second of them is...
Taylor's dropped back, hasn't he, out of that lead. The black and red and green one is the Byford car, yeah.
And here comes Byford up the inside of Robert Taylor and goes through. So
Thank you very much.
Slice them off one by one. Now, how quick is he going? That was a slower lap, 50. He's 2 seconds a lap quicker than Cole Swift, even though he's going through the traffic.
Blimey.
There he goes up the inside, and he absolutely flings it through the corner. His familiar yellow helmet in the car. He's a bit wide though on the exit, and that's allowing, is it Dark to fight back? There's the Lotus in the pits. That's a strange strategy. That's Daniel Jude in, perhaps not enjoying these conditions so much, and his teammate Alex Ball, a Lotus champion. So here be quick. Byford's going wide. He's finding the grip. Is he on the outside line? Or was that a little bit of an error? Either way, he stayed in front of this battling duo, the BMW. There is
the Byford car is almost like a sort of period kind of Castrol livery. That's white, red and green on so many cars. It's really strong, that livery. The graphics are great.
That car is running the invitational class. I think it's running non-regulation fuel, so therefore can't run in the in Class A. As it would do otherwise. But here they come then. Here's Byford now. He's caught Andy Schultz. He coming around the outside. There's no room there for him. Schultz is keeping Byford at bay. So he darts to the outside. They've just lapped Ivan Mares. So where can Byford find a way through? Through the kink they come. He's alongside Schultz now, and he'll have the inside line into the onto that hanger straight. The BMW though hanging on around the outside. Byford hasn't quite done this yet, I don't think. Meanwhile, Cole Swift leads by 7 seconds over Owen Fitzgerald. And then here comes Byford alongside Schultz. Schultz is pretty keen to keep him at bay though. But no, Byford later on the brakes in the front wheel drive car. But he's sideways. Is he going to catch it? He does. So he is now through then. So that is third.
It's a lot of driving on reflexes, isn't there? Those TCR cars make, they're pretty heavy. They're about 1.2 1,200 kilos. 2 tons, but it makes about 350, 360 brakes, something like that. So plenty of grunt.
And of course, they were built to run on slick tyres, which you can't run in this championship. So that can make them a bit more lively, one would expect. Here is another one. That's another of the area cars, the Wallace brothers, side by side with the Ginetta. That's the Stuart Dayburn car. Then you've got another M3 in there. That's the Jamie Ingram car. I think. Jamie Ingram just behind the Trigger Dayburn Ginetta. In the classes, just to mention, Class B is led by Chris Freeman and Johnny Munday by about a second over William Beach. Class C is being led by Paul Sheard and Chrissy Palmer, by a long way ahead of John Peerless and Mervyn Beckett. So there is number 9. That is Russell Clark in the BMW M3. Chasing the Ginetta. There's the Wallace brothers side by side here with Jamie Ingram. So this for 9. So coming through nicely here are the Wallaces. Who's driving first? It's Matt Wallace, former MR2 racer. As they turn then out of Stowe. Across the line goes Cole Swift. Meanwhile, Martin Byford is now second. So what is the lead gap? This will be one to watch. It is 6.7 seconds. Now How long do we think that will last, Mark? It's another fastest lap from Byford, a 1:14.0.
Yeah, he's lapping about a second quicker than Carl Swift. 6.7 seconds behind, so depending on traffic, 6 laps maybe, 5 laps, if he gets that sense that he can catch the Area Motorsport car number 6 easily.
Fitzgerald trying to come back at Byford here. Those conditions, I think, are getting better, as would that fastest lap on the last
Car
lap
with
would show.
a very plain livery, the Fitzgerald and Hind car, just looks so innocuous, doesn't it? Looks like they've driven it here on the road and put some numbers on it in the old style.
Sort of 20, 25 years old, that car now as well, and it goes so well.
Back in the 60s and 70s, there were sort of sign writers in the paddock who used to sort of write numbers on the windows in plimsoll white and things like that. And put crisscross tapes over the lights.
So Cole Swift lead now is 5 seconds. Another fastest lap from Byford, 1:13.8. But now the cars that are being passed by Byford are all doing PBs where Cole Swift is not. So I think Byford is showing everyone there's still lots of grip out there if you can push on, and that means everybody is now going quicker. So it is Swift leading from Byford, then Fitzgerald, Schultz, Dark, Taylor, Cheatham, Wallace, Ingram and Clark for the top 10. So we've had half an hour of this race already. Class B, that's still being headed by car 14. That was started by Chris Freeman, the Honda Civic that leads William Beach's Volkswagen Golf by 1.3 seconds. And third within that category is the Ben Salmon and Nick Starkey BMW M3 started by Salmon. And the 3 cars at the front of Class B aren't that far apart from one another. Here with the Wallace's Matthew Wallace in the Sayre through Stowe Corner. There's Steve Cheatham, the reigning champion, in his Porsche, chasing after the 5th place battle between Charlie Dark and Robert Taylor. Taylor comes up the inside of the BMW into Abbey and goes through. That was an unexpected pass, and I think that's put Dark off a bit. And Steve Cheatham is going to try and come through too here. He's alongside Dark, can't quite make it though. He's later on the brakes. But again, Dark in the Elite Works, BMW hands on just about. A problem here for the 17 Mini. That is David Drinkwater, the car he shares with James Poulton. He's the reigning Hot Hat champion, was a double winner in that class yesterday within his category. There's 26. That's the Class C BMW 3 Series. Paul Sabiani starting that. There's a car in the pits. That's car number 19, which is Mark Tomlinson. He's in the BMW Z4. That's a free driver team, so I think they're out here just so we'll have fun and be competitive, because they'll have to make 2 stops to have all the drivers in. Steve and Jack Wood are in that too. There's 69, that's Andy Schultz, the BMW he shares with Matthew Hampson, that's running in 4th position. Pulled away now from those behind. In 5th position is now Robert Taylor after that pass we saw, and Steve Cheatham has got past Charlie Dark too, so Dark's dropped to 7th in the 2 Series BMW. In traffic is Taylor. He laps the 81 Mazda there. That's Matthew Tidmarsh, who shares with Alex Richardson in that Mark III. There's the Dark BMW in P7. Now Taylor's lapped one of the area Civics. I think that's Luke Handley's car. Very busy now on the Hanger Straight. Class C, by the way, that's being headed still by Paul Sheard, but it's Chrissy Palmer that's actually started the Mark IV Mazda. So Paul Sheard and Chrissy Palmer lead by a decent margin over John Peerless and Mervyn Beckett's Honda Civic. 15 or so seconds, and third in the class is Jonathan Hayes and Paul Saviani's 3 Series BMW. Here's the leader, this is Cole Swift, and he's now keeping this 4 or so second margin over Martin Byford. So I think now that the track is dry again, Marcus. There's not much between.
Yeah, he's just put in the PB as Carl Swift, a 1:14.01. In fact, Byford was a couple of tenths quicker, but still 4.3 between them. And behind Fitzgerald, number 11, BMW, is in third place. And Andy Schultz, sometime Formula 4 2000 racer, is in fourth place with the ready colour BMW car 69. Taylor still in fifth place. In fact, it's come up as Dark and Dalgano have been bumped a couple of places. In fact, both Rob Taylor and Steve Cheatham in the Porsche have lapped past Charlie Dark. So Charlie Dark in 235 has dropped down from 5th to 7th place after 19 laps for the leader, 18 laps for the chasing group.
PB just done by Owen Fitzgerald in the third place car, 1:03.24, means he's closing in on Martin Byford. Here's Byford, and there is Fitzgerald behind. And it's the M3 going really well, the car that's for sale, chasing the factory-built Seat, driven by touring car racer Martin Byford, and Fitzgerald now getting alongside the Seat as they go through the traffic. Who's got the power down the straights? Power to weight ratio means that if you've got a lighter car, you haven't got quite so much power. If you've got a heavier car, not to go through the corners, but you have got more grunt. So Fitzgerald on the inside line of the Seat, just ahead of the BMW here that they've just lapped the Galaxy car, and they are still side by side through the traffic. Down towards the Vale chicane they go, the inside for Byford, the outside for Fitzgerald, and Byford just there, Marcus, hangs on.
That was a long attempt to take the place, just to wrest the place away from Martin Byford by Owen Fitzgerald, but it went all the way down from the approach to Stowe Corner right the way through to Vale. Byford has just about prevailed. Fitzgerald is still there in his wake.
The BMW looks so narrow compared to
it
the
does,
big arch
doesn't it?
Seat.
Yeah.
So down into the village hairpin. Dry circuit now after a brief shower. I wonder if we'll see any more of them over the next hour. Into the link there, a tighter line taken by Fitzgerald. He's got a bit of a better exit than Byford. He's in the toe. Again, it's much like the last lap. Is he going to have a go down into Stone? And we tucked back in underneath. Thought he had a big toe off that wide Seat ahead of him. Through the right-hander at Stowe Corner they go. Curb taken there by Fitzgerald. But Byford hanging on there. 5 seconds behind the leader, Cole Swift. And I think it's fair to say Ash Woodman won't have the pace of Martin Byford, whereas Rob Baker will be fairly much at Cole Swift's pace, and Rory Hind will be fairly much on Owen Fitzgerald's pace, and that'll be the intrigue in the second half of the race. Again, Fitzgerald has a sneaky look up the inside of Byford. That doesn't happen for them. They've just lapped another of the Porsches. And they've got another one to do down here into Village. That is the 986 car of Jamie Callender, who shares that car with Jason Flegg this year. Out onto the hanger straight they go. This does really show, Marcus, how the power to weight ratio works, that you can build a car from a road car like the BMW is and race against these factory built racing cars.
Yep. Porsches have got together, coming down to Stowe Corner.
So it's Jamie Callender and Michael Downey in this battle. A couple of Boxsters. Here is the Class B leader. This is car number 14, the Honda Civic, currently driven by Chris Freeman. He shares that car with Jonathan Munday. The Alpha Power Cleaners livery on that car turns its way onto the hanger straight, leading Class B now by a couple of seconds. A new second place car is Ben Salmon, who has, that means we have lost the car that was second, I think. the William Beach Golf. Perhaps that's had a pit stop. That is at the pits at the moment. If not, a problem for William Beach, out of second place in Class B. So Ben Salmon moves into second, and then third within Class B is number 12, Tom Rogers, the Honda Civic that he shares with John Griffiths. But here's the leader in the class. That is Freeman. Accelerating through Club Corner. Class B for cars up to 240 brake horsepower per tonne. Last year's class champion moving up to Class A, Steve Cheatham, so allowing some new guys to have a go at the front of the category. Overall champion coming from any of the three classes. There you can see the Ben Salmon BMW pretty much with Freeman, so the two leaders within Class B are together. There's number 9 with a bit of trim hanging off. That's Russell Clark, who's 10th overall. There's Janetta, that's 11th. That's David Grigg and Stuart David. And then 12th is the Civic. You can see the two Class B cars there. The Civic ahead of the BMW M3. They're about to lap 81, which is Matthew Tidmarsh's Mazda MX-5. We've had 40 minutes on this race now. We have a further hour to go. Cars should be good for an hour on fuel. And however, I suspect the two driver teams keen to let their first driver have a bit more running time. Here come the two Class B cars, then past that Mazda. So battle of 12th and 13th overall, but leading the class battle, Freeman ahead of Salmon. Watching Matthew Tidmarsh in his Mazda. Class C though still being led by Chrissy Palmer's Mark IV, and he's leading that now by over 20 seconds over Paul Saviani, and then in third position is Mervyn Beckett within Class C. They're the two Class B leaders, Freeman and Salmon. Less than a second between them now. Past that Mazda. Leaders have done 24 laps. Cole Swift 3 seconds ahead of Martin Byford. And Owen Fitzgerald still doing a good job to go with the two Seats ahead.
Both leaders lapping about a second outside their personal best for this race so far. The Byford time of 1:13.11 is still the best of anybody in the race. 26 there is the 318 Ti BMW, Hayes and Paul Spiani.
This is the car that's second within Class B, no Class C, sorry, but a long way behind Chrissy Palmer up front. Perhaps unsurprisingly, given the difficult conditions earlier and the calibre of the driver Chrissy Palmer is. Paul Saviani doing a good job here to be second within category. In the overall order, this BMW is 23rd. And then 10 or so seconds ahead of Mervyn Beckett, who's third within Class C. Michael Spong on the live stream following the Class B leaders, the Chris Freeman and Jonathan Monday duo, giving support to them. Confirmation that Elite Works BMW is a road car turned into a race car rather than the factory built cars, so good to see Charlie Dark and Joe Delgado going through well. Running there in 7th position. Won't see a 2 Series BMW 2. Here's the battle for second overall. Martin Byford and Owen Fitzgerald still together. 3 seconds behind the overall leader as they make their way through this link road. They're lapping Julian Mcbride, who's made his stop in his M3, and Byford, I think, chose the wrong line here, gets put onto the grass briefly, but that didn't allow Fitzgerald to come through, importantly. So they've got these cars to lap. We've got the Janetta G20 in there of Neil Primrose, the Travis Drummer. Byford again, 2 wheels towards the grass as he laps Julian Mcbride. McBride, another Class A car, but has made his pit stop, but he's feeling quite racy against these cars as they head up towards Stowe Corner. So here comes Fitzgerald now, trying to pass that car. And of course, Julian McBride running to a similar kind of pace. And doesn't feel the need to get out of the way.
Well, he was one of the early stoppers, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which could mean actually he's in for a good result here.
Yeah, he's got a hefty fuel load, and he will watch for the stagger to unwind as everyone else has to make their stops.
He's 27th overall, best lap 1:15.4, so a couple of seconds away from what the leaders have done. I can see the Mark IV Mazda there just gone into shots, coming out of club. That was the Class C leader, Chrissy Palmer. But this is Martin Byford, who's now got a much bigger gap to Owen Fitzgerald. Getting through the traffic. Here is the Mini, that's David Drinkwater. There is the Lotus, that is number 23, which is Ben McCauley, that he shares that at least with Graham Robinson. And then amongst them is a Golf. Great different number of makes and models of car in this motor race. Coming out of club there, you can see James Kell, who had to serve that penalty earlier. He's currently racing the Toyota in British GT for Speedworks, soon to be lapped by the overall leader, Cole Swift. He has been, soon to be lapped. And then Byford second, and still Fitzgerald can't pass that Julian McBride car, which will be a frustration for him, I suspect. 4th position is Robert Taylor. Across the line now is into the pit lane comes the Neil Primrose Janetta. So we get a good look of this car, Marcus. It doesn't really look much more than the old Challenge cars, does it? But obviously has quite a few upgrades.
Yeah, it's got some aero upgrades, hasn't it? And I remember these cars from years back when they made that Dunlop Cup series.
A great series, wasn't it?
Most energetic. They were great fun to drive. Did a couple of rounds.
Yeah. How'd you get on?
Doing very well at Silverstone, and then the Thruxton one had a wheel bearing go on the warm-up lap, so having qualified on the, I think, 3rd row. So one of those things.
There's some quick guys, isn't there?
Yeah, and the commentator came, said, "Oh, what a terrible shame! You're out before the race has started." I said, "No, I'd rather the wheel bearing went at sort of 30 miles an hour on the warm-up lap than 110 miles an hour in a couple of minutes' time." So, got to be pragmatic about these things.
Yes. Oh, change in Class B lead there, just going through shot. Ben Salmon has got ahead of Chris Freeman. Here they are on your screens, the BMW and the Civic side by side for the lead of Class B. And Ben Salmon is hanging on just about ahead of Chris Freeman. He's just passed him, and they are together too. They're with different cars. The 3-litre engine BMW, the 2-litre front-wheel drive Honda, about to be lapped by the Class A leader, the Seat there, but they are battling amongst themselves, and is Freeman going to have another go? He's gone back past Salmon, who is slowing, is he? He's lost a lot of time down the hanger straight all of a sudden, which is unusual. The Gas Schultz car. That was a little bit odd. So back into the class lead goes Chris Freeman.
Again, it could be something just as simple as a missed gear.
Let's see if he continues. He does, and perhaps that was the drama. And Salmon, the open face crash helmet. Rather than shared with Nick Starkey. Obviously Matt Maxted in that car in the past too. 3 leaders overall, all on the screen there. Swift, Byford and Fitzgerald. Into the pits has come 481. That's Ed Christie to hand over to Neil Mills in their E36 M3 within Class B. see the Smart on the screen there. That's Jonathan Packer, who goes with Rob Baker. That Smart 4.4 with something like 350 brake horsepower. Not standard, I suspect, Marcus.
Not quite how Mr. Smart envisaged it, I shouldn't think.
Here it is, making its Club Enduro debut, running in 14th position. Just been lapped by Steve Cheatham. Sarah Moore's driven that car in the past as well, very well.
So it's got plenty of grunt then and weighs about as much as a damn bus ticket.
There's Steve Cheatham, the champion from last year, who is currently running in 5th position.
Has that car been upgraded to...
yeah, they've got a bit more power in, took a bit of weight out, and going really well in 5th position. And Steve Cheatham always seemed to come up the order in the second half of races.
Yes, yeah.
With some good strategy and teamwork from the Lodge Sports guys, so one to watch. There's the Smart again. Driven by Jonathan Packer, the quicker of the two drivers in that car. I think it's running the Invitational class again, much like its teammate at EGF Motorsport.
The Primrose Ginetta just come out of the pit lane, the army green coloured car. Like that, Travis Drummer.
Oh, Z4 spun, that's the 19 car. The Mark Tomlinson, Steve and Jack Wood machine, but that gets back going again. Hear the motorcycles in the background that are on the other circuit on a track day, which is slightly off-putting.
We've covered half distance, Josh. Just through the 50-minute barrier.
13 on the 32nd lap. The leader, Cole Swift. 2nd place, Martin Byford. 3rd, Owen Fitzgerald. 4th is Robert Taylor. 5th is Steve Cheatham. 6th is Matthew Wallace. 7th, Russell Clark. 8th is Jamie Ingram. 9th is David Trigg. 10th is the Class B leader, Chris Freeman. Within Class B, it's Freeman that leads, Ben Salmon and Tom Rogers. Within Class C, it's Chrissy Palmer that leads from Paul Saviani. And just coming into 3rd position on that lap, John Munro's just got the better of Mervyn Beckett for 3rd within Class C. Half of the pit lane is William Beach, and we saw him drop down the order earlier, so some troubles it would seem with this Volkswagen Golf. Looks like a VW Racing Cup spec car. Being run by Area Motorsport this weekend. There's Robert Taylor going through, he's 4th. Bit of a gap over Steve Cheatham, who's 5th. And then in the background you can see the MX-5, that's John Munro, who has just grabbed 3rd within that class. And actually can't see the Beckett Civic, so perhaps that's come into the pits. To hand over to teammate John Peerless. So this that white MX-5 was 3rd in class. Here's the Class B leader, that's Chris Freeman. And there's the Mazda, the TWP racing car, driven by John Munro in the first stint, and he shares that car with Nick Dougal. There's Steve Cheatham, the Porsche Boxster that runs in 5th. The live stream, seeing people asking about the live timing. If you head to the 750 Motor Club website, 750mc.co.uk, there is a link to the live timing. Click on the second, we're on race 18, Club Enduro, and you'll find that there.
The Hind Fitzgerald car appears to have fallen into the pits, instead of dropping down the order.
Now it's bizarrely popped up at the top.
Ah.
So, but
it was dropping down to 6th, 7th and things, so maybe it's a transponder issue.
I wonder if that is in the pits because it's sort of come. I suspect it's a pit stop, isn't it? There's Cole Swift on your screen. On the inset is 101. That is the Nick Grove and Carlo Turner 1 Series. Just behind the Z4 back in the pit, so that's going to the 3rd driver, the Mark Tomlinson, Stephen Jack Wood car. Just before that, we saw the 46 Civic, that's the MJ Motorsport car of Mervyn Beckett handing over to John Peerless, one of the Type R Trophy spec machines. And this is a car that's made its pit stop, the 2 Series, the Charlie Dark and Joe Delgado car, just passing Colin Gillespie. that's going to be... looking at it, it would appear that Julian Mcbride probably is the leading pit stopper. I know we haven't had... So it'll be interesting where the Hyndon Fitzgerald car comes out, won't it? Because that'll be the highest car that's pitted. There's a mechanical warning flag going out for one car. But yes, that early stop looks like it's working well for Julian Mcbride. He may not be the quickest driver on the grid, but good bit of strategy work there by the Jeff Steele racing team. May work well for it in the end. Just gone through shot there, you saw the Mark IV MX-5. I'm not sure we might be able to pick that up in a few moments. Class C leader, Chrissy Palmer, heading down to the village hairpin. They're the overall leaders. Swift, 2.3 seconds clear of Martin Byford now. And into third will come Steve Cheatham. It will come Rob Taylor, sorry. So Rob Taylor into third in the Seat that he shares with Mark Jones. Bigger gap back to Steve Cheatham. Here he comes.
There's
through
Cheatham
club.
through club now with on his tail one of the big BMW M3s.
Kevin
Dengate, isn't it? It's 6, isn't it?
There's the James Kell car, so he's come in to hand over to Alex Lively. There's the Hyndon Fitzgerald car stopping. Lively getting away. And 968, that's the Boxster in the pits. It's Jamie Callender over to Jason Flegg. See PPE being worn in the pit stops. That's a regulation that must be done if you're working on the car. Looks like the Mervyn Beckett car still being refueled, so that might be a bit of a slow stop. There's Rob Baker, so he's preparing to take over that car, the leader, the leading car that leads by 2.5 seconds over Martin Byford. Flings the second of the Seats into Abbey Corner there. 2.5 seconds left. There's the Mazda, the first car in the screen. Is that the Mark IV? No, it's not, is it? That's another of the Mazdas. There's so many of the MX-5. That's the 160 car, in fact. That's Mike Hughes, shared with Patrick McCarthy. So not to pass the lead. There's Steve Cheatham again, out of club. P4 for him now, yet to stop. McBride is ahead of the Hyndon Fitzgerald pairing. It looks like they may have lost time in the stops. So I reckon the leading stopper is McBride, 18 seconds ahead of Kevin Dengate. Might have a chase on in the second half of this race, I suspect.
McBride and Dengate 15th and 16th overall at this moment. A lap off the lead.
Here is Hyndon Fitzgerald's car, so we're behind at the wheel now. So a long way behind those cars that made them early pit stops.
That could have cost them dear.
But side by side with 69, that was early on front runner Andy Schultz, and over now to Matthew Hampson. There's the 2 Series. That is now driven by Joe Delgado, who's taken over from Charlie Dark. Trying to get through some of the traffic. That car's a bit further down the order, I think had a bit of a long stop.
It's a relation of Sandy Delgado, the ex-Gearbox Carter, with some Lotus Cortina racing.
No idea.
That common a name. South of the border, anyway.
There is Delgado in that Elite Works Motorsport BMW M2355i.
Good looking thing, that, isn't it? It's very compact and it's really well built.
Jack Kitchener supporting them on the live stream, so giving the Elite Works BMW some airtime now, heading through Abbey Corner, running in what is 24th overall, but when the pit stops flow through, it'll be much higher.
Yes, you come to that point when they've all made their stops and the lap charts will start to unwind and the stagger will unravel. We'll get a true picture in the last maybe 20 minutes or so of the race.
It's because it's a shorter race, means that fuel window is a lot bigger than the 2-hour races. Which
yeah, it gives you more option, doesn't it? And certainly options when safety car, yellow flag interventions are called for. Just have that one, of course, at the very beginning of the race.
So it's too early for most of the teams, but not all, and it's those teams that did come in early that might benefit the reward. We believe it is Julian Mcbride, the first of those stoppers. From Kevin Dengate, and then Colin Gillespie as well. And Colin Gillespie's a Class B car, so Gillespie might be good for Class B honours, you may wonder. So we're an hour into the race now, pretty much, with 40 minutes to go therefore. That Gillespie just going out of your shot.
Gillespie, yes, Gillespie.
Flashing his lights, there is Cole Swift into Abbey. He is 2.7 seconds clear of Byford. And there is the, now we're behind at the wheel of the M3. That's a long way behind our leading stopper, Julian Mcbride. I reckon it's about a minute, so that might be a gap to watch in the last 40 minutes of the race. There is Mcbride just heading into Abbey.
And the lap time up front at 1:13, 1:14.
See there Ben Salmon going right over to the pit wall, flashing his lights, letting the team know that he'll be coming into the pits this time. Now there's a car with a black flag being shown to somebody on the pit wall, so somebody's got a penalty. That's the Matthew Tidmarsh Mazda making it stop, so that will be the chance for co-driver Alex Richardson to get a go.
Ben Salmon, that BMW running second to the Freeman and Monday Honda Civic Type R, Class B, number 14. Gap between them about 8 seconds.
Lead gap down to 1.5 seconds on that lap. Cole Swift to Martin Byford. There they are, turning into the hairpin with a lapped car between them. That was car 9, Russell Clark. So here comes Cole Swift and the Area Motorsport Seat. Area Motorsport running 6 cars in this race. That's the EDF car, driven by Byford. And only 20 seconds back is Robert Taylor. Seeing a good drive from him. Steve Cheatham is 4th. And Russell Clark, who they are lapping, is 5th. Byford squeezing up the inside of him into Stowe. And he goes through on that inside line.
I think it's Mark Jones who drives with Rob Taylor. He has done some BTCC, hasn't he?
Not
racing historic.
Same Mark Jones, is it?
Same part of the world.
Okay,
all from Cheshire.
So if that's the case, then it should be quick in the second stint, shouldn't it?
You'd have thought so.
Leaders across the line. Gap 1.3, it's coming down further. Into Abbey they turn. Through Farm Curve. There's Byford. 98. There's 6, that's Swift. Won the Burkitt Relay, didn't he, Cole Swift, overall in that car a few years ago when it was really wet. And off the road there goes 101. That is now Carlo Turner, who's taken over from Nick Grove. Looks like that is retiring the car with the Storm and Camel logo on the door. Here's Primrose in the Ginetta up the inside of one of the Civics. Will slot through. That was Andy Bailey, Class C car that pitted early, so that might have a good result, I suspect. Andy Bailey, a former Class A champion in the category back in 2018 when he was in an M3. Here's Byford again. 9 years ago, he raced in the British Touring Car Championship for the AMD Tune-In team, which is now part of Mark Blundell, who's paired up with them, hasn't he, in the VTCC. after his less than glorious season in the championship last year. Damage down the hanger straight. Is that part of the bumper?
May have been part of that internal wing that was damaged on the Porsche on the first lap. Just sufficiently far off the road not to be of major concern.
Here's 112. This is Mandy Patel making his debut in the TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship in 2020. Just about to be lapped there by Cole Swift. Patel is running in 7th. A load of cars. Right in the front of this group is the Mark IV Mazda. And off the road goes Julian Mcbride, the car that we thought might have had a chance of winning. Now, has he run out of fuel? That would be very early on if they did think that would be able to go to the end. But Julian Mcbride pulling off then down the hanger straight with a problem. And was our leading pit stopper, but is no more. Then at the front of this group, just going through shot, that is the Class C leader, Chrissy Palmer, just ahead of these cars. So whether we can take a closer look at the Mazda MX-5. And the first car coming down towards Abbey now. That is Chrissy Palmer that shares with Paul Sheard. But into the pits here, car number 12. This is Tom Rogers, who shares with John Griffiths in a Honda Civic. This duo raced a Clio last season. They were going pretty well in the top 3 in the class, I think. And into the pits too has come Robert Taylor to hand over to Mark Jones. So with McBride out, I reckon that makes Kevin Dengate the leading pit stopper.
He's in the 78 car down in 11th place at the moment. Smart has just come back out of the pits.
Gillespie in 15 is the second of the stoppers, and then it's Rory Hind half a minute behind Dengate. Then we'll see where Mark Jones comes out. Here is the Class B leader, Chris Freeman. He's had a long old stint. He's not given much time to Johnny Monday, is he?
No, that's right.
Half an hour ago.
34 minutes left on the clock.
Much like Cole Swift isn't giving Rob Baker much of a drive, and Martin Byford is not giving Ash Woodman much of a drive in the overall front runners.
It's one or two of those tactical moves just to sort of play to the strengths of the team, the relative performance of each of the drivers.
And of course Rob Baker, the area motorsport boss, so Cole Swift, his customer at the wheel, he has to say in how much stint length the two of them have. And then Byford, a slightly quicker driver, just a second between the two Seats now. Here's the Mazda that I was talking about, Chrissy Palmer sharing with Paul Sheard in the Class C leading car. This is the Mark IV MX-5, so the current car, the Class C leader, turning through just ahead of the Class B leader, the Civic. So two class leaders together here. So 2009 Formula Ford Festival winner, Chrissy Palmer, who shares with Paul Sheard, the 2007 Mazda champion. And just getting moved out the way a bit by the Civic there that laps him. But a great drive this has been by Chrissy Palmer. And now has he handed over to Paul Sheard? He may have done. But perhaps no longer the Class C leader, no. But was the Class C leader for the most part of that first stint. So now Paul Sheard at the wheel of that car, I reckon. That means the Class C leader is now John Munro, who is yet to hand over to Nick Dougal. But second in that class and has stopped is Andy Bailey. So Andy Bailey, I think, looking good in Class C. Then the third place car is the car on your screen, now driven by Paul Sheard. So that car still in third place within Class C. But Andy Bailey, I think, is going to be the car that has Class C wrapped up if he can last it on the fuel, because that is the problem, Marcus, with the early stoppers, if you've got enough fuel to do the distance.
Yeah, we used to see it in the Spa 6 hours. If it was a wet race, some of the 911s could go pretty much all the way on a tank of fuel, so they can make some very quick changes, driver changes, etc. And one or two good results. That hasn't been for a few years now.
Here are the two leaders, less than a second for the first time between them. Cole Swift, top club race driver, Martin Byford, former national race driver, multiple champion. Cole Swift, who started off in autograss racing. Only been doing circuit racing for a few seasons now. Well, most of a decade, I guess. And Martin Byford, who had a single-seater racing career in the 1990s. So quite interesting, Marcus, watching these two in very similar cars.
Yeah, and Byford's been quick in everything he's driven over the years. He's always had very well prepared cars, and he's done plenty of testing, etc.
We were talking about Formula 4 earlier. He famously won one of those races in a Formula Ford, beating all the 2-litre winged cars when it was wet, or it got wet, and they started on wet where all the others started on slicks.
Just outdrove them.
Yes, absolutely, had the right tyres to do so.
It's part of the A&B Glass dynasty from Sudbury in Suffolk, lives in nearby Colchester. Addison and Byford. Rob Addison was a racer too.
There are the two Seats together. The 98 car not in a class as such and won't be scoring points. But I think they will be keen to take an overall victory here.
So it's, even as an invitee, it's allowed to win the race if the drivers merit that, but it doesn't get points for the championship, simple as that.
And no trophies.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's an invitation trophy, but not a Class A trophy as such, which... But yes, it'll be on the result sheet as the winner if it comes out on top. And down into the village hairpin they come. They've got the Mini there to lap, which I presume is now James Poulton, who's taken over from David Drinkwater. They've also got the Alex Livesley Mazda there to lap, who's taken over from James Kell, who was racing in British GT last weekend. He'll be racing in British GT next weekend too, in that Toyota GT86. No, it's Toyota Supra, isn't it? Toyota Supra GT4. So they're back to his roots in an MX-5. Cole Swift down, but a bit of a difficulty with one of the MX-5 back markers. Of course, because those MX-5s are so light and nimble, they're probably as quick as these Class A cars through the corners, aren't they?
That's another of the fascinations of these races, and you can see now with the Mazda tucked in right behind. Mazda seems to have some kind of hole through its nose cone, whether by design or incident, I'm not sure. There are the two Seats charging around in front.
Into the final half hour now.
Just imagine they're a lot of fun to drive, those cars, because they're pucker race cars. Jake Hill drove Jamie Sturgis's Golf at Thruxton recently. Saw Jamie out in the Seat yesterday, but Jake was fantastic in the new Slick Shod series and put it on pole.
Still Kevin Dengate that leads the stoppers by 23 seconds over Rory Hind. We're yet to see where these two cars factor in. The Mark Jones and Robert Taylor Seat a bit further back. Byford for the pits. So 98 into the pit lane. So Ashley Woodman is going to get a go. For what, 24 minutes, something like that, once the 3.5 minute stop has been made. And I think now we can hear from Matt Suckling down in the pits.
Taylor, who's just jumped out of the number 48 Seat and has done a great job to remain inside the top 5. Robert, great stint. How was that for you?
Oh, it's really good. I'd been happier not to have the safety car because I was in second place. And I thought when the safety car went in, I got jumped. I don't know how many got by me, but it was a bit of a struggle then.
And the Seat seems to be going well round here at Silverstone.
Pardon?
The Seat seems to be going well round here.
Yeah, it's going good this weekend. Yeah, we've come on a lot, I think, both of us, both me and Mark. We had a good day here on Friday, testing. So fingers crossed that we bring it to the aim now.
How do you reckon Mark's going to get on?
He's good. He set our time, fastest time this morning. So, but I did notice on the readout I got down into the 13, so I was quite pleased with that.
Good stuff. Well, there you go. Robert Taylor down here in the pit lane. That's just the second place man has come in as well, Martin Byford. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Matt. Very noisy down there in the pit lane. Sounds like a proper endurance pit lane there, doesn't it, Marcus?
It does, and it gets very busy in that pit lane at various times, but the one thing we lack on our screen is just an indicator of who's made a stop.
Especially as you had that sort of extra confusion at the beginning.
Yes.
So therefore people sort of snuck into the pits.
And therefore they're out of place in the out of position currently, but hopefully won't be when it comes to the final reckoning.
I think it's Dengate, isn't it, ahead of Hind, then Gillespie.
Yes, the Dengate car is, what, 18 seconds, yes, ahead of Hind at the moment in the car started by Rory Fitzgerald.
So that gap is coming down. It'll be interesting to see where Ashley Woodman slots in and then what kind of pace he has.
Yeah, the Hind Fitzgerald car currently lapping about 2 seconds quicker. That's the number 11, the white BMW E36 M3 from the E46 of Kevin Dengate, the red car number 78.
There you see Cole Swift popping out behind the Z4. So he's continuing, still to stop.
Yeah, 52 laps in. It's a fairly hefty old stint, isn't it?
Absolutely, here it is. The car heading down towards the village hairpin. Neil Primrose has made his stop and he's up in 17th, so that Janetta might have a decent result out of this, I think.
Yeah, it sounds quite gruff, that car.
Still it's got the 2-litre engine, but it'll be interesting to find out how much power that makes. And there is Kevin Dengate on your screen now, 78. So this is the car that is was on your screen, was the lead-in stopper. There's Steve Cheatham, he's about to go out, and we're looking at Ashley Woodman getting in the Seat. But will it be this lap? It will, won't it? It'll be this lap if Kevin Dengate can go through, I think, or need to do one more. Such a long pit stop, of course, 3.5 minutes. It's sort of it's 3 laps around here, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
So there goes Woodman, and Dengate goes across the line and through, I reckon. So Kevin Dengate, you can see on your screen now, swoops into Abbey and is still the leading stopper.
Yep, in 5th place overall. He's done, what, 50 laps. And leader has done 52. So, yeah.
Here comes Woodman, and Rory Hind in the BMW is not far behind, and Woodman's still got to get up to speed. And there's the BMW, so this is for kind of next second. Neil Primrose, by the way, in the Janetta back in the pit, so that's not going to have a decent result. I'll have to chalk that up a moment to go. But here's Rory Hind, up to speed then, catching the Seat, just lapping the MX-5 there. I think yet to stop still, John Munro. And this is the second place battle within the stoppers. Still have to factor some extra cars into this, of course. And it's the battle for 5th and 6th overall. Send it says on the back of the Seat. I think it's fair to say that Martin Byford is doing that. That's the car that we think the leading stopper is, not the Golf, but the one in front of it. And that is Kevin Dengate in the red BMW M3, which we think has made its stop. I think it's made its stop early on. And then this is the battle between the two cars that stopped at more of a conventional time. Ashley Woodman being chased by Rory Hind as they turn their way into Abbey Corner. And a problem for Dengate, the doors come adrift, has it? Hard to tell though. Was it the livery? It looks a little bit bizarre. But side by side here, I can't quite do it yet. I think it might have been the livery on the BMW that made the door look like it was a little bit ajar, but slightly strange side livery there. But Hine yet to get ahead. He's still behind then the Woodman Sayat. He won't want to get held up here for long if Woodman is a little bit slower than him. Down into Stowe. Here he comes up the inside. Hine can't do it though, can he? Get squeezed over the curb on the inside.
Yeah, there just wasn't quite the room, but perfectly legit. Corner belongs to Ashley Woodman. Just missed the apex of the first bit of club, the sort of veil turn by quite a long way. That cost him momentum. And that's advantaged Rory Hind, who's back in behind.
Into Abbey they go.
And that didn't work. But the change has happened just out of our sight because Ashley Woodman hesitated, tried to go the other side of the VW Golf and got gobbled up by Rory Hind in the number 11 BMW now on your screens.
And he's only 8 seconds behind Kevin Dengate and catching all the time by about a second or two each lap. Of course, we're yet to see Cole Swift come in for Rob Baker. And looking at where the BMW come out compared to Woodman, it should be pretty tight. Also waiting for pit stops for Russell Clark and for Christopher Freeman.
Yeah, Dengate is 3 laps behind the overall leader, but has, as we surmise, stopped. He's 8.5 seconds ahead of Woodman.
Ooh, that's
another BMW in trouble.
That's the Salmon and Starkey car. So Nick Starkey, if it stops there, that will not be good for the race. It is crawling down the pit straight. So as the cars come out of club, they'll see this almost stationary car on the road, on the racing lines. They have to jink out, jink right. It's not going anywhere quickly.
No, and it's not in the position where the it's got going again.
Sort of a Control-Alt-Delete restart.
You almost wonder whether he's somehow knocked the master switch off coming around the corner when he changed gear or something like that, or depending where the master switch would be, because the car is absolutely fine again.
Now there's a car that's just gone into its garage that looks Sayat shaped. I reckon that was the Mark Jones car that's pulled off into retirement. We'll see if it starts dropping down the order. We just did a slow last lap, 1 minute 24.
Yeah, it's down in 12th place on the chart at the moment, Josh.
If it was that, it went straight into its garage and out of the race. Here's the overall leader, Cole Swift.
It is a marathon stint he's driven.
And once more, we can hear from Matt Suckling in the pits as we got dramas for Neil Primrose's Janetta. We'll be able to hear from Matt in a moment. We'll see Neil Primrose was slowing, as was that Starkey BMW. So it does seem to have some dramas, but it can get down. We'll see them cars go into the pits, and in the pits is where we will find Matt Suckling.
Down here with Martin Byford at the minute, who's just jumped out of the number 98 Sad. Martin, that was a really good stint for you, running second place, only a couple of seconds behind the race leader.
Yeah, we nearly got him, but unfortunately for us, we had to start at the back of the field today. We put it on pole, but we failed the ride height test by about 1.5 mil. Our fault. We just measured the car wrong, and it was too low. So yeah, you take the penalty. We started from the back. It was good fun coming through, but by the time I got to the leader, we kind of ran out of tyres a little bit, so didn't quite get him, but it was a really good fun drive.
Have you put some fresh tyres on now for Ashley?
We had to put a left front on, yeah, because I blistered the left front, so hopefully he should be all right for the end of the race now. So.
And what do you reckon his pace will be against the other stat? Of course, Rob Baker's still to take that one over, so he's got a good chance, I reckon.
We're about to find out, aren't we? For us, we've never raced on these tyres before. Ash had about half a day in the car in the week, and that's it. First time I drove on these tyres was this morning when we jumped in for qualifying. So at the moment we're kind of we've jumped into another world of championship. We're learning. We're trying to find out what's the best way to run the car. I don't know. We're having fun at the moment, so we'll see.
And talking about working your way through the field, Club Enduro, great field here this weekend, some magnificent cars.
Yeah, really good mix. Most people are pretty clean. A couple of guys not quite using the mirrors when you're up alongside them, but generally very, very good. Yeah, great to have a big field of cars. Yeah, it made the drive really good fun coming from the back. So yeah, it was good.
Martin, I'll let you get on. Thanks for your time, and we'll see how Ashley does in the second half.
Thank you. Cheers.
There we go, they're down here in the pit lane with Martin Byford, really happy with that stint. And just to let you know, guys, as well, Rob Baker yet to be suited and booted, so I reckon Carl Swift's going to be out there for a little more time yet.
That car can go a long way on a tank of fuel, and I think as Cole Swift is the paying customer, he didn't want to pit at that early stage markers, which means he's waiting and waiting for a safety car period that just isn't coming.
Can he just change his mind and run the whole way?
He can if he
But he has to make a stop still.
Yes,
understand that.
There's no reason why he couldn't, as far as I know. But whether he will do that, we shall see. Rob Baker did say to me this morning, because he's had so many customers, he hasn't really had much time in the car since last year. There's a quarter of an hour to go. There is Cole Swift. Through Club Corner. Russell Clark second, he still hasn't stopped, and there's been a change behind because Rory Hind has got past Kevin Dengate, and that is the leading stopper, and Ashley Woodman is going with them, so he's got some decent pace now, he's up to speed. And in the pits is the TWP, the Together We Progress Motorsport team. That's John Munro and Nick Dougal, who were leading Class C during that pit stop cycle. There's a new car to them. Certainly a new livery on that car, if not. Class B, now the stops have cycled through. I'm sure if David Drinkwater's stopped. His Drinkwater Bolton Mini is the car that's leading Class B from Colin Gillespie. And then Luke Handley's got a Honda Civic. It says Golf on the screen, so I think that's a Civic this weekend in the end. And Class C is being led by Andy Bailey in his Civic, number 95. Second within Class C is that car in the pit lane. So that will cycle Ivor Mayers into second place after his early stop. And then third will be Matthew Tidmarsh and Alex Richardson, I reckon. Just checking I didn't miss anybody there, because I wonder what's happened to the other car. It's way down the order now. The Sheard Palmer car is down to 34th. So they've had a drama somewhere along the line, who led Class C throughout that first stint.
Well, we're into the last 13.5 minutes, and Carl Swift shows no sign of slackening his pace. He's covered 61 laps to the 58 of the Owen Fitzgerald, now Rory Hind driven BMW E36, number 11, the white car. 78 Kevin Dengate stopped early. He runs in third place in his red E46 M3. And then it's the Ash Woodman now driven Seth Cooper TCR.
I just saw that car come out the pit lane, so I don't know if that was a drive-through penalty or a small issue.
Okay.
Just when you were reading through that, it just came out the pits, which was a bit of a surprise. You can see he's falling down the order now, because into fourth overall has come the Mini that I don't think has stopped David Drinkwater and James Bolton car. Can't be 100% though whether that is the case. So yes, the Woodman car now falling down the order. So within Class A, it's behind Steve Cheatham too now.
Two boxers tearing around together. Cheatham the darker of the two, the other one minus its rear bumper.
So that might be the bumper we can see out on the
possibility. Yeah.
There's the Freeman and Monday Civic. Now that's 12th overall, 1, 2, 3, 4th in Class B, and of course did lead that category earlier in the race. Joe Cheatham watching his dad, Steve, who's now 6th in the race. Jake Oxley, so good luck to Ash Woodman now, who's taken over from Martin Byford. Support 2 for the TWP Mazda that we saw in the pit lane.
On your screen, number 11 car, which is a very solid second overall. 3 laps down on the leader, which we reckon has not stopped, and we reckon the 3.5 minute stop, whatever, will take effectively 3 laps. There's a stopper now. Is that the Mini in that we talked about?
The blue car.
Yeah.
See if we can pick that up on the pit lane camera. You can see that car on our
Tell us who it
It's the
was.
lead overall.
That's the lead coming.
They have got to put some fuel in it, but only 10 minutes worth, which you wouldn't have thought is very much. So Cole Swift into the pits to hand over to Rob Baker, the overall leader. Will Rory Hind get ahead of it? Owen Fitzgerald spoke to me this morning. He said that BMW M3 is for sale. He said to me, say it's a great car. I said if you win, it'll show it's a great car, and they are in a position where it could be a winning car against this factory-built Seat, run by Area Motorsport, that won the last 3 rounds of the Club Enduro Championship last year. It won at Oulton Park, it won at Snetterton, and it won on the Grand Prix circuit here at Silverstone. There it is, the car that's chasing. Rory Hind at the wheel, that he shares with Owen Fitzgerald, who started the car.
3 laps down. So it's now eating into that deficit, which we expected to be about 3 laps, given that the pit stops are so long.
The Mini is in the pits now, you can just see it on the left-hand
Yes, there it
side.
is.
So
Yeah.
pretty much everyone has either in the pits at the moment or have already pitted. So Cole Swift has done 63 laps, on to lap 62 is the BMW. So yeah, a couple more to go. Kevin Dengate in 3rd, by the way. So this could turn into a good result for him. Steve Cheatham is in 4th. And then leading Class B in 5th is Colin Gillespie. 6th is Ash Woodman. Then 7th, second within Class B, will be Luke Handley once this mini pit stop has been completed. Then in Class C, it's Andy Bailey that leads by quite a long way over Ivor Mares. A great result for him. And then 3rd within Class C is the TWP Mazda, the Nick Dougal-driven car now. So the Area Motorsport team waiting for the 3.5 minutes to tick on by. Now 9 minutes to go, so it's going to be a very short stint for Rob Baker.
Yeah, Hind and Fitzgerald in that number 11 car have now just crossed the line again, have they not?
Yes, so they go on.
Yep. So that should be
Onto the lead lap.
62 down, really, shouldn't it?
It has already crossed the line as the area car, so that's just completed 63.
Yeah, that's right, so 62, so the area car's done 63. Out through the link, there's the Boxster without the rear bodywork.
It's a long old wait, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. What you don't want is some kind of heat sink into the engine, which you can find on an earlier car, not one of these modern newfangled things, but find something the car wouldn't burst back into life. Down at Stowe is the car which is about to rattle off its 63rd lap. The Seat is still in the pits.
It's counting it down though, so I think Rob Baker is now left its position, but already going down towards the Vale is Rory Hind. There's not going to be much between. Now I think the Seat's going to be out ahead, but Baker fresh into the car. He's only going to do about 6 laps of this race. He's now going to start climbing up the hill within the pit exit, so could start accelerating. There he goes. So he's just ahead, but not by very much. What, 10 seconds perhaps?
Yeah, something like that.
You can see that on the inset, and then through Abbey comes Rory Hind, who is very much up to speed. He's doing decent laps. There he is, trying to chase down the leader, Rob Baker. There he is, the Seat, the area car that leads the the motor race.
Steve Cheatham is very impressive, isn't he? He's always there or thereabouts, like runs like a metronome.
It's even Croft last year, he did the 3-hour race solo, which is incredible. It was a really hot day too, and he won there solo in a 3-hour race. It's a real pro driver kind of thing, isn't it? Factory drivers at Le Mans are expected to do 3 hours. You wouldn't expect a club racer to.
No, absolutely not.
We're going to get a read in on this gap. There's the Gillespie BMW being lapped, but that's the Class B leader. Another car that made an early stop and is going to benefit from that. So the gap from Rob Baker to Rory Hind with 6 minutes to go is just under 6 seconds. So Hind's going to have to do about a second a lap if he's going to catch the leader. But Rob Baker, former Civic Cup champion, certainly is not slow.
He's a super driver, and of course, but what he now faces is a few laps where he is not used to who's in which car and which cars you have to give a wide berth to. So it's all a bit experimental for him for a couple of laps while he gets his eye in. Whereas Rory Hind has been charging round, and you can see there's about half the length of the hangar straight between the two of them.
See there, Ivor Mares in the Mazda MX-5, second within Class C, which I think will be his best result in the championship. There's Hind in the BMW that is for sale. Kevin Dengate's third. That might be his best result too in the championship if he can keep that. He did get a third back in 2018. Meanwhile, Rob Baker's teammate Cole Swift is downstairs with Matt Suckling. 5 minutes to go.
Down here with Cole Swift, who's just jumped out of the Seat. Cole, brilliant stint, a really long one as well. Was that planned?
No, we're just going to go until it's a safety car, really, so we're not too fussed who does more time in the car. It's about winning. We've got to the point now where we needed fuel, so we had to stop.
It's been a Seat race, really. You had Martin Byford behind you by about 2 seconds for most of that second part.
Yeah, well, these invitational, they're running more power, I think, or something different because they don't fit into the class, so they've got a bit more pace, but managed to hold him off when he caught up.
Now, you just rejoined with Rob. You got the BMW right behind you. It's going to be a close one.
Didn't realise it was that close. Couldn't see it in the mirror. We'll see how it goes.
But a great race for you. Enjoyed Silverstone today?
Yeah, it's been great. The track's a bit slow and frustrating, but yeah, it's always a good race around here.
Oh, well done. Let you get back off. Good luck for the final few minutes.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Cole Swift down here in the pit lane, happy now, and Rob Baker behind the wheel. So we'll see how he gets on in the closing 5 minutes of this race.
Thanks, Matt. So Matt will now go and prepare winner interviews, but who will be the winner? The gap at the end of 65 laps is 5 seconds between Baker and Hind. The BMW was quicker than the Seat ahead. They complete 66 laps now, and the gap, which was 5 seconds, becomes 4.5. So Hind is quicker, but there's not really enough laps left at that rate to catch the Seat there, the leading car.
No, not with 3.5 minutes to go.
A 20-year-old BMW. It's a great effort, isn't it?
It's a super effort, and if you were in the market for a good, reliable, quick car for this Club Enduro series, then you'd look no further on the evidence we've seen this afternoon.
Indeed.
You'll buy it for a lot less than a factory-built Seat, I suspect.
Imagine so. Don't know what it is up for sale for, but indeed, Seat will be asking for a few more quid, I suspect. So here comes Rob Baker then, in the car that he runs. There are 3 laps to go. Might it be? Yes, it will be 3.
Oof. And we had Rory Hind diving across to go past 2 slower cars, including another of the Seats. It's 4.39 now.
It's going to be tight whether they get 2 or 3 more laps into this race. There are a couple of minutes left, but I don't think even 3 laps is quite going to be enough because the BMW isn't catching at a huge rate. Class B, that's
Oh, a huge slide, and that's a real wobbly for Rory Hind. And any thought he's got of catching the leader might have evaporated then.
Matt, more news from him. The 98 car, we saw that come back into the pit, had a 60-second stop-go penalty for not adhering to the COVID PPE regulations in the pit lane. So they're running the invitation class. They haven't got a fully spec car, and how they don't fully respect the pit regulations either, it would appear.
Left them down in 6th place, effectively.
I think we would have had 3 cars in this lead battle otherwise. Yeah, 2 laps to go. They are going to squeeze 2 more in, I say. And it was 1 hour 38.46 across the line. And they're doing 1 minute 14. No, this may be the last lap yet. It's going to be pretty tight. However, there is 1 further lap at the end of this, so we shall look out for the checkered flag. It might be exactly 100 minutes, which would be pretty impressive. So here comes Rob Baker. Maybe he might just breeze off. Now he's got this 6-second lead. He can make this the last lap of the race.
He's got Steve Cheatham up ahead of him, gives him a quick flash of the lights.
4th place car.
He's well advised to stay behind, wouldn't he?
I think every race this area...
There's the last lap board.
So this is the last lap. This area motorsport SAC, I think, has won every race that it has entered. The last 3 races of last season. And it's about to win the first race of the 2020 TEGIWA Club Enduro Championship. Rob Baker makes his way out of club. The checkered flag waves then, and Cole Swift and Rob Baker win in 1 hour, 40 minutes and 1 second. So it was 100 minutes and a second, that race. And it wins by just 6 seconds over Rory Hind and Owen Fitzgerald. So congratulations to Rob Baker and Cole Swift, the race winners. 2nd, Rory Hind and Owen Fitzgerald. And 3rd will be Kevin Dengate in his E46 M3, the Red Rascals car. Class B there, just going out of club corner, you can see, was the number 15 car, and that was Colin Gillespie in the BMW 1 Series. And I think that might be his first win in the championship. Yes, it is. So congratulations to Colin. First victory within Class B in the Club Enduro Championship. And Class C will be won by Andy Bailey in the Honda Civic. And that's Bailey's first race in that car. He raced the BMW M3 a couple of years ago to win the Class A title, but wins first time out in this Civic. But there's the overall winners. 4 in a row now in Club Enduro. The last 3 of 2019 and the first one of 2020, Cole Swift and Rob Baker then winning here at Silverstone, the first of 5 rounds this year. Before heading to Alton Park in a couple of weeks' time, Snetterton in October, Spa-Francorchamps at the end of the month, and then Donington Park in the middle of November will conclude the 2020 championship.
Is that going to be a night race?
I haven't heard that in the plan, but it would be a cool idea, wouldn't it?
It may well be, because there won't be much light by the time we get to November.
I reckon 36, 37 cars got to the flag, something like that, which means only a few retired. So fantastic reliability there, Marcus, too, from these club race cars.
There's the Gillespie Grunter, as it's known. It says so on the back bumper. It's a class winner today.
Don't see many club race in 1 Series BMWs. They've
No.
top BTCC car, but as I say, don't really see them, interestingly, in club racing too much. So Gillespie winning Class B, and then the Class C winner, something we didn't see much of, was Andy Bailey. He made that early stop, quick driver, solo driver, and won his class by 3 laps over Ivor Mares. And then 3rd within Class C was the Tidmarsh and Richardson MX-5. And Gillespie beat Luke Handley in Class B by 38 seconds. And 3rd within that class was the Freeman and Monday Civic you saw a few moments ago.
That's another area car, isn't it? It's the Bailey car. Is that
Yes.
paid by?
Area Motorsport.
That's an area car as well. So they've had a very, very good day.
Absolutely. So Rob Baker will be pleased. He's also got cars down at Fruxton. I think he had 5 Civics there and then 6 cars here. So Heavy Motorsport having good business this weekend, I suspect, and with quite a bit of success. So there'll be some cars to pick up, but not too many actually. After the first lap dramas, we had that Porsche in the wall, didn't we?
Going to hook the black BMW Mcbride that's down the hangar straight. That's got to be hauled back in. Here comes the flatbed for that one.
Yeah, we lost those two cars dramatically at the start, didn't we? The car in the pit wall, then the fire. But after that, it was a clean, good race.
In fact, I've been hugely impressed with the reliability across the whole range of classes here this weekend, Josh.
Yep, let's say, except for those two incidents at the beginning of this race, there wasn't too much. There wasn't really too much drama, was there? Which is good, because everybody putting their own money in here. You don't want to see their cars going wrong. They're spending a lot of money to be here. You don't want to see their day ended by a mechanical drama. Perhaps those last 8 or 9 months of sorting the car out, and they've got it. They've worked on the car so much, and they're working perfectly for today. And after all those months off, now the Club Enduro competitors only got to wait a couple of weeks before they go to Alton Park.
That's when the real challenge begins. That's re-preparing the car for Alton.
Absolutely, and a very different circuit there for everyone to get used to. If we get a 40 or so car grid at Alton Park, getting through traffic there is going to be rather more difficult than here at Silverstone. Much tighter and twistier circuit. And let's hear from Matt Suckling. Let's see how many drivers he can chat to.
So here we are with our race winners for the Club Enduro here at Silverstone. Well done to Carl Swift and Rob Baker. We spoke to Carl briefly. We'll have a quick chat to Rob as well. Rob, you got in for the final 10 or 15 minutes. Not much to do, but you came home victorious.
Yeah, I was really worried we couldn't stop at the start under the safety car. Otherwise we would have done. We both say all the time we'll sacrifice the driver's sin to win a race. But we didn't have the capacity in our tank, and it was actually two Class A E46 M3s, a Mcbride which broke down, and Dengate, and then you had Fitzgerald that was pushing us, 3 or 4 second gap most of the race. But it was the safety car ones that were the worry, which is why we left Carl out so long. And then once everyone had stopped, we could see the gap, and fortunately we came out the pits, I think 3-4 seconds ahead of them, and cross line to win, which was great.
It wasn't much of a gap, was it? You had to really work hard in the final few minutes because the BMW was still pushing hard.
Yeah, I came round onto the penultimate lap, and there must have been a train of 15 cars in front of me, and I thought, oh God, this is going to be tricky. But fortunately we managed to maintain pace through the traffic, keep a gap to Rory and the other guy that drives that one behind. And yeah, it was great work by the team. We've run 6 cars this weekend here. We've run another 5 at Thruxton in Civic Cup, so we've split the team. We've got good results in Class B and C with our drivers as well, so really pleased for it.
Busy weekend. Carl, we spoke to you as well, as we said. You did most of the work out there, but it was hard work, but it did the job.
Well, I did most of the work in the race, but Rob did most of the work in quali. He definitely had the pace this morning, so if Lee got us up the grid to get that good start and get a breather after the safety car.
Moving on to the next one, I think we're at Alton Park next. You doing that one?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be there for them all.
Guys, well done. Many congratulations and a great race.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Rob. Cheers, Carl. Thank you very much for that. I'm not too sure if Rory's about to have a quick chat too. I think he's disappeared as well, so we're not going to grab our second place man, unfortunately, but a really good race. Thoroughly enjoyed that one. Many cars on the grid, and Club Enduro, as we said, will be back out at Alton Park in just a few weeks' time.